You found yourself in another episode of Locked on Bulls. In today's episode, we're going to break down Charles Barkley's comments on if the Bulls should go into a full rebuild. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked on Bulls.
You are Locked on Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked on Bulls. Locked on Bulls, member of the Locked on Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. Nonetheless, Pat, we're in the building to talk about our favorite team, and that is the Chicago Bulls. Charles Barkley. Man, listen, Charles be talking sometimes, bro. He suggested that the Bulls go into a full rebuild, that it was time to blow it all up and start over. What do you think about these comments from one Charles Barkley?
First off, I love Chuck. He's one of my favorite people in the world. I will never act like I know more basketball than Chuck does because
you do.
He's played a lot of basketball in his life. You know what I'm saying? He understands a lot of things. He legitimately was probably the second or third best player in the NBA when Michael Jordan was dominating.
This is facts.
That sounds stupid. and I wanted to say that in a way that Charles could understand it. In my opinion, Chuck, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because we've never seen that work. Right? Like, I get what he's saying with I do agree with you. One of the worst places in sports to be is in the middle. I don't disagree with that, right? Because you don't get a high draft pick. You don't end up getting you don't have enough talent to get to that next level. But I think the part that a lot of people miss out on is you have to have a great regime in place for a high draft pick to matter. You also have to have the draft work out in your favor. You also have to be able to draft multiple people for that to even work. Guess what? I think Paolo Banchero is one of the best power forwards in the NBA right now, whatever position he actually is. I think he's one of the best players on the court right now, and the Magic have 6 wins. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So for me, right, like, and not to say that's how the Magic are going to be forever, but it takes a lot of things falling the right way. It's not just finding one player. And more times than not, it takes multiple drafts going your way. And then you still got to hope somebody's going to want to come to your team. Here's the thing where the Bulls are right now. They're in a position where even if DeMar DeRozan isn't the answer, even if Vooch isn't the answer, you've still got a young core in the building. Hopefully Lonzo Ball will be back, but at a minimum, you've got Zach LaVine, who's absolutely starting to show that he's going to be more of a player. And he's a player that players have said, I would like to play with him. That is the combination for finding the team that gets to the next level. It's not the 90s anymore. It's not the early 2000s. Players aren't just going places for the bag. Everybody's getting the bag. Players aren't just going places for the city itself. Every city's nice when you're rich. Let's be real. Like, some cities are nicer than others, but you can turn your house into a city if you're rich. At the end of the day, it's about, do I want to be in this situation with these people? Are they going to build onto my legacy? And am I going to have fun when I'm there? That's what it is at the end of the day. Welcome to 2022.
Here's the thing that I have, and this is for Bulls fans to say go full rebuild. This is for people like Bill Simmons, Charles Barkley. It makes no sense right now for the Chicago Bulls to go full rebuild for a couple of different reasons. We know that the season started off way less than what we wanted to start off. I think everybody can know and can agree with that. The Bulls don't own their own destiny. If they own their own first round pick and things got a little bit worse, could a conversation be made for it? But the fact of the matter is our pick is top 4 protected.
Yep.
We have less than a 50% chance to hold on to that pick.
Yep.
You don't do that. A retool is more likely than a rebuild, and even then, a retool may be a minor retool. There's never been a team that did not own their own first round pick or did not trade a superstar away to get what could be a first overall pick back from another team, and the Bulls just aren't doing that. When you look at the position that the Bulls are in, Their biggest trade chips, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, if they were to decide to go full rebuild, because Zach LaVine, they're not getting rid of him.
Yeah.
You're not netting much back. And people are going to say, well, you remember the Bulls just gave up 2 first-round picks for Nikola Vucevic. At that time, Vuce was a 20-11 guy who was sub-30, or just turned 30, I think, at that time.
Yeah, he's 30. He might have been
he's
30
32
even
right
at that
now,
point.
so I think he had just turned 30. So it's not happening. And then as far as DeMar DeRozan, yes, DeMar is DeMarvelous. We all know that. But keep in mind, this is the same DeMar DeRozan that teams, like the Bulls technically overpaid for DeMar. There was not that type of offer out there for DeMar. We gave up.
I guess.
Technically,
but
I mean, by the way that the market,
we actually got a steal of a deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's worth what we're paying him.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about according to what the market would have set for DeMar DeRozan. We could have technically got DeMar for less than that if we would have just paid him what his other offers were. Where it seems like DeMar at that point really wasn't getting much higher than mid-level type money, which is weird. But with that being said, the Bulls and anybody who wants Vooch or wants DeMar is going to be a contending team, meaning that pick is going to be outside the lottery. You don't do that when your own pick, then by tanking, you still may not hold on to. The go full rebuild part of this conversation is just not feasible. It just isn't. It doesn't make any sense. Logically, you can't talk anything into that. I understand that some Bulls fans listen, like me and you said in our own conversation, I think outside the pod and on the pod, the Bulls are technically 3.5 games back from being the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I understand that the start of the season has been hard. It's been frustrating. It's been disappointing, but let's keep it in perspective right now that the Bulls technically aren't that far back from being a number 4 seed right now. Technically, things have gotten better over the course of today. They're exactly 3.5 games back from being the 4 seed. It's way too early to be talking about going full rebuild. So,
and here's the thing, right? You have to. I know we don't believe in this. We want to see it happen the second that it's supposed to happen, right? Like look, we want to be the Boston Celtics. We want to be the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Where things happen right away. But then you also have to look at the season aspect. You also have to look at how things are going to happen down the line. People are going to come up limping. People are going to come up. You don't hope for injury, right? But you know that it's going to happen in this sport. You don't know what superstar is going to be disgruntled, right? All of a sudden, Trae Young's pissed off at the Atlanta Hawks, and he doesn't want to come to a game. He says he was hurt. Nate McMillan says he didn't tell him not to come, but there's multiple reports saying he didn't show up and nobody excused him. You know what I mean? So for me, right, there's a lot that has to play out through an NBA season. If you give up within the first 25 to 30 games, you don't get a Milwaukee Bucks NBA championship. You don't get to the point where the Boston Celtics, because remember these, and I'm not saying the Bulls are going to be the Boston Celtics, but the literal conversation last year was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum cannot play together.
Also said by Charles Barkley.
Said by Charles Barkley. Now, I will say this. In the finals, they couldn't play together. It was bad. It was bad in the finals. And for a lot of the playoff run, it was very one and one, right? But even
they've
with
grown
that,
since then.
Even with that, right? Like a year of development, a year of playing together. Do they look like they can play well together now? And I know we don't have the same timeline as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have, right? But like then you start to talk about pieces developing. I can't tell you how many times I keep hearing that I can't believe we gave up on Larry Markkinen too early. I can't believe we gave up on Wendell Carter too early. We should have held on to Bobby Portis. We should have never traded away. The recent one is we shouldn't have never traded away Daniel Gafford because he looks great. He's the rim protector we need. If you're going to cry to me about development and how long it takes for somebody to develop, which these guys took multiple years for them to develop, Larry Markkinen, what, 5 years in the league now? He's on the second deal, 5 years in the league. Then you lose all right to say P. Will's not good and he'll never turn into the player that he should be on the Chicago Bulls. It's okay to be patient. It's okay. You're not going to win championship 7 this year. Guess what? There's 31 other teams that aren't going to win championship 7 this year. It's just about taking another step. And for me, right, blowing it up isn't a step. A retool, maybe. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a real possibility Nikola Vucevic isn't on this team by the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you want to maximize the fact that you might not get a contract done with him. that's okay. That's a
Yeah.
retool. Maybe you go out, you trade them to a team that has a young big that they're trying to work in, or they have a young big that is stuck in a pipeline, right? And they say Vooch is the piece that's going to get us over the top, right? Like those are the situations that you look at. You know, maybe the Warriors center's James Wiseman. They seem to hate him now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd take a chance on it. But those are the things where, like, a retool, I can see that. Blowing it up makes no sense. And financially, it would put the Bulls in a worse situation going into next offseason. Unless you're just like, we're going to fire everybody and do this down to the studs, which then you'll never get any talent on the team again.
That's it. And that's what it boils down to. So that's it on as far as the rebuild. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Bulls getting ready to face the Dallas Mavericks and what that could mean for this team coming up. But first, before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best artists, icons, and leaders anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn how to film, as I did, from Spike Lee. You can also learn how to improve your business acumen from Bob Iger, who's back now running Disney, who came back with that. With over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors, the thing that you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. I highly recommend that you check out this holiday. Give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/lockedon today. That's masterclass.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. That's a weird ass read, bro. I'm gonna have to edit that a little bit. But with that being said,
well, now I do too. Thanks.
No problem. Well, there you go. There's a point for you. I also got to talk to you guys about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. How does it work? You add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Locked On Bulls. Hold on, give me a second. Your first listen every day. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today for the games that matter the most. They're the biggest stories in sports. Go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insight that only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast.
All right, Pat, can the Bulls keep up their winning ways as they prepare to face the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow on Saturday? How do you feel about this game, bro?
Oh, yeah. It was just how you said it. It was how you said it. It was like tomorrow on Saturday. It was like, what? I'm going to be honest with you. I do believe the Bulls can, right? Because here's the question that you have to ask when you're looking at both teams. Not to say that Luka Doncic isn't unstoppable. He's literally like European LeBron. It's not even – it's like European LeBron 4 years into his career. It's ridiculous, right? But for some reason, Jason Kidd hates Christian Wood. I don't know why. Christian Wood closes out almost none of these games. He plays 26 minutes a game. They don't put him in the lineup. Spencer Dinwiddie is nice this season, right? Like he's not he's been about 16 points a game. Nice addition to the team. But outside of that, right? Like these guys are going to one guy and one guy only. And that is Luka Doncic. I think the two biggest threats that the Bulls are going to face in this game is Luka, of course, and then because of how we've closed out on the three ball, right? I think Tim Hardaway is actually a major threat coming into this game. He shot like 50% over his last 4 games. Now they do play tonight versus the Bucks, so we'll kind of see how that's going to play out. The Bulls are going to be fresh, and they're going to be off the second of a back-to-back. and I believe they're playing the Bucks in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
so then
really?
they're flying
Okay.
straight out to come play us. So we'll have a little bit of advantage rest-wise, but Tim Hardaway Jr. is the other guy that I think you got to watch out for, shooting the three ball. Not crazy well this season, but over the last 5 or 6 games, he's been knocking it down, and those are the guys that usually kill the Bulls. I think we can get this window. I know it sounds great. It's not just because the Wizards win came here. I really think, right, like the Bulls or the Dallas Mavericks use Luka in like almost a James Harden Houston way.
I like
And
that comparison.
it's not that you can shut him down, but it eliminates the effectiveness of a lot of the people around him.
That's fair. That's fair. When you look at Luka Doncic, he's having an amazing season, leading the league in scoring right now. Also, 8.6 rebounds, 8.7 assists, which is 4th in the league in assists, and chipping in almost 2 steals per game. Luka's balling right now.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Luka Doncic is balling right now. But the thing that makes this team a little bit easier to guard, they're 13 and 11, so it's not like they have an amazing record. And even with the play of Luka Doncic, they're only 16th in the league in offense, actually 1 spot below the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
So this is a team that can be beat. The Bulls are going to have to come in with that defensive effort that we saw last game. They're going to have to try to contain everything outside of Luka Doncic, meaning not letting Spencer Dinwiddie going off, not allow Tim Hardaway Jr. to go off. Patrick Williams is going to have to own that matchup against Dorian Finney-Smith. Maxi Kleber, who they gave the bag to and have been barely playing him since then. Like, it's a little bit weird. Like,
Bro, Jason Kidd, I don't think he likes his team, bro. I think he just likes Luka.
Jason Kidd, his rotations are just, and they've always been that way. Like, his rotation, people go crazy over Billy Donovan's rotations. If Jason Kidd was the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Bulls fans would be pulling their hair out at some of the rotations that he has, because I just don't understand it. But with that being said, this is a team that is beatable, but to beat them, you have to execute well on both sides of the ball. I'm not saying we need to have another worldly night. I'm not saying we need to have another sub 100 defensive rating from Zach LaVine to be able to win this game, but it is going to take that team effort. We're going to have the team rebounding. We're going to have the team focus on both sides of the ball for all 4 quarters. This is not a team you want to overlook by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a team that if you play as a team, if you do what you did last season, if you have players that step up, if you go to the hot hands, if you're moving without the ball, we can beat the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not saying that we will. I'm not predicting us to beat them, because Luka's just been cooking, and this is the type of team that we do may allow to go off at the 3-point line against us. But at the end of the day, the Bulls have seen the blueprint to the success. The second Toronto game, the Bucks game, the Celtics games. Yep. We've seen our blueprint to success against teams like this, against teams with a bunch of talent on it. It's just, if that Bulls team is going to show up, that's the biggest question to me.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you also take into account, right? Like, I would almost say, not to say expect Luka to have a subpar game coming in there, but right, like you're talking about a guy that's getting a 37.5% usage rate this year. Like, they're literally just like, Luka, save us. It's not right. At points of this season, it has been above 40. I think they've started to work some other things in. Dinwiddie being ready to go has definitely helped the situation. As far as injuries go, they've only got McKinley Wright out. Javante is going to be a game time decision for us, but I think the thing for me is really the fact that, right, like, it's literally play a game. Let me double check that. I believe they literally play a game. Yeah, they're in Dallas, and they've got the late game, so they play at 9 p.m. in Dallas. Dallas is on Central Time Zone.
Yeah.
Dallas is Central Time Zone. So you're finishing that game at what, 11:30, 12?
Yeah.
And you got to fly 11:30, and you got to shower, get home, or not get home, shower, and literally get on a plane.
Yeah, they're probably going to go right to the plane. Yep.
It plays a part in it, and the Bulls might be able to catch them a little bit off guard coming into Chicago, right? And especially with the usage rate of Luka, I think coming into the second of a back-to-back, you might see him a little dead leg, shooting a little bit worse. But here's the thing. Those are the moments where the other guys can dominate, and we struggle with the other guys. By the way, can we call him a former Chicago Bull?
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer
Not
Dinwiddie.
really.
I feel like he's got Chicago Bull beef.
He never played a regular season game for the Chicago Bulls, so it's.
But I
hard.
feel like he's still got the beef because he said that the Bulls. I don't know if he told Nick this or he told a different podcast, Locked On Mavs. But I know he said that they literally were like, "Hey, you're our guy. We're gonna put you on the roster."
Rose. Yeah.
And he was like, "Cool, just tell me if I'm not." And they were like, "No, we're gonna have you here. You're gonna be our guy." And then they cut him like an hour later.
Yeah. I don't think it's beef. Listen, it seemed like he moved on. He's done pretty well for himself after the fact. But
I hate to see it. I always thought Spencer Dinwiddie was nice.
Yeah, keep in mind, the Bulls had 2 shots at Spencer Dinwiddie. We brought him in here 2 separate times and did not hold on to him.
We brought him in here after he had played in the NBA and got to watch him.
Spencer Dinwiddie having a heck of a season, but I'm going to say this right now. I know he's not starting, but I think Ayo Dosunmu gets another son.
Spencer Dinwiddie?
I think Ayo Dosunmu is going to get another son.
I'm going to be honest with you. Ayo's it's falling off a little bit. It's falling off a little bit, bro.
I like that we're both honest here because I will say this. And his offense is coming along, but there's been something about Ayo's defense where it's just not the same.
It's not the same. He's not moving the same. He's not being as aggressive. I don't know if I also want to know if the defensive game plan has changed around the Bulls because I don't know if y'all noticed this, but they were going under the screen every time in that last game versus Washington. Like I get it, right? Like they're not going to spray you from deep every night.
Well, you know why that is because every time they go over the screen, they blow the coverage. That's it. That's all it is. I think they made the decision to go under because every time they went over the screen, every time they went over the screen, it was a wide open three. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing here?
Hey, listen, don't go under the screen on Luka. It'll be a long night. Before we get into our final topic, man, first off, shout out to Brittney Griner for coming home. I want to talk about that a little bit, but we also want to tell you guys about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for all your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds, trends for every professional and amateur league out there from football to NBA, soccer. And here's the thing. They've got everything over there, right? If you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. Fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to their website today or use the mobile device to learn more. BetOnline. It's where the game starts.
There you go. All right, before we go home, we're not going to get into the politics and everything of it, but we do want to spend some of this time to just talk about the fact that Brittney Griner is home. Early today, it was announced that she was gonna. They did a swap. She was on a plane on her way back home. How do you feel about Brittney Griner after this long, just everything that's been going on with her finally coming back home, and not even necessarily the sports of it? We can talk a little bit about the WNBA impact of it if you want to, but just the human aspect of Brittney Griner coming back home.
Man, here's the thing. At the end of the day, right, no matter where you stand on it, no matter where you feel on it politically, there was a person in jail that I don't know if I can say shouldn't have been. I don't know, right? Like, I don't know where I sit on the whole side of it. Like, it was in Russia, but the thing for me is, right, like, she wasn't conditioned for that. She wasn't prepared for that. She wasn't ready to be a part of that. And I'm glad that she's now out of that situation. She's going to be back home with her wife, going to be back home with her family. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been a year just about, right? Like,
February 17th is when she was detained. So we're right at 10 months. So almost
10 months. 10 months in a Russian prison and part of that in a labor camp. So at the end of the day, no matter where you sit on it, shout out to her for just being home. I'm glad that she's back home and she gets to be with her family. And from a human standpoint, man, like, if you got beef with that, I don't know what to tell you.
That's the biggest thing, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on too. It's just the human aspect, bro. Like, I couldn't imagine being away from my children for 10 months.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't. Like, this is part of the reason why I'm crazy, but you would never catch me going to jail because I refuse. Like, I can't.
By the way, if you want to see something entertaining, just pop into a live stream when Haize's kids want something to eat.
Oh. It's amazing.
I just fed you. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, so prayers up to her and her family and just what her and her wife have been through. I couldn't imagine it. I just flat out couldn't imagine it. And it's good that she's coming back home. It's good that it happened in the way that it did. Like I said, we're not going to talk about the politics about it here. Family first. She gets to be home with her family. And then, just to talk a little bit about the sports aspect of it, because we are a basketball podcast. WNBA, be on the lookout and watch out. That's all I can say with that.
Oh yeah, dog. I mean, it's the first thing I thought about, and I don't know if this is even going to be right or not. But I was like, bro, she's got to be so much stronger. She's been in a work camp for what, 2 months?
Yeah, just about.
Bro, she's going to come back and dominate this league. And just like the fact that she had to watch her team essentially like fall apart without her there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, she's gonna come back and she's going to take the league by storm, dog. And here's the thing, right? Like, you always knew, because we played against Brittney Griner in so many big games, being Sky fans and stuff like that. Like, you almost forget like how dominant she was in the league, bro.
And her last season in the WNBA was 2021, because she missed the whole 2022 season. 20 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, 2.7 assists, almost 2 blocks per game.
And she could shoot the three.
Yeah, 44% from three-point range.
Like, she's going to be a problem. And I think that when she gets back in the league, man, it's going to be like, I literally was sitting, like, when I found out she was coming back, and after everything going down with the trade swap and all that, I was like, man, she's gonna come back to the league and it's gonna be crazy. Then I was like, we don't have nobody to stop her. Emma Meeseman is not gonna stop Brittney Griner. I was like, we don't have one player on this team that can remotely slow her down. Steph Dolson did a decent job on her, but Emma Meeseman is gonna get cooked. Versus Brittney Griner. Meese, prove me wrong. I love you, Meese.
That's crazy. That's gonna be wild. But shout out and prayers up to Brittney Griner and her wife Sherelle, I believe is how you pronounce her wife's name. So yeah, hats off to them. Prayers up to them, and it's gonna be fun to see her back, and it's good to have her back and stateside and safe, man.
You think she starts the season? Because the season is what? Season a good. What, 5-6 months away?
Yeah, I mean, the season doesn't start till she's gonna have enough time to train,
get herself ready and stuff
she's
like that.
She's gonna be ready for the season to go.
Or does she pivot away from the WNBA? That's the one thing.
I mean,
that's the one thing I thought about most.
This whole situation could have waken her up to where she's just like, listen,
that'll change.
I'm just gonna be with my family.
Yeah,
and you can't hold that against her at all.
I wouldn't be mad at her at all.
Yeah,
yeah. So. That's a situation like that, bro. Like, you just like, hey man, like, I did not expect to be gone for 10 months. That'll change 110%.
That's for sure.
Like, at least if you like mentally prepared to get locked up. Like, I don't think it make it better. But Mike Vick, I was listening to Mike Vick talk about it on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, his podcast. And he was just like, you like can mentally prepare for it, but once you see that door close and you realize ain't nobody coming to get you, it changed you mentally, dog. So
I bet.
I'm glad that she's out, man. I'm glad that she's back home and getting ready to hopefully start a normal life again.
There you go. Shout out to Brittney Griner, her family, and everything. But Pat, go ahead and send us home, brother.
Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love to the channel, man.
Absolutely. You can follow me at CEO Haize, Chaize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go and check out Locked On Sports today. The latest news, everything, plus the tip of the day, instant game reactions, big game recaps, all that. You can find it available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This is Locked On Bulls. We out this mug. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Yeah.